Let me ask you something that no teacher, no so-called study expert, and no motivational speaker will ever ask you directly. Why are you really struggling to learn? Is it because you're lazy? Is it because you're not smart enough? Or is it because the system you've been forced into was designed to make you memorize slowly, inefficiently, and painfully, so that you keep depending on schools, coaching centers, and endless guides to spoon-feed you information that you could have mastered yourself 10 times faster? See, nobody talks about this, but the truth is brutal. The entire educational structure you grew up in is designed to train obedience, not intelligence. They teach you to read line by line, highlight like a machine, repeat like a parrot, and hope you'll eventually remember something when exams come. And then they call you lazy when your brain rejects this boring, outdated method. But let me tell you the reality. Your brain isn't the problem. Your brain is a Ferrari, but you've been forced to drive it like a bicycle. And here's the part that sounds almost illegal. Once you discover how to bypass the approved learning methods, once you tap into the forbidden strategies that schools don't want you to know, you'll realize that learning 10 times faster is not just possible, it's unfair. Unfair to your classmates, unfair to the competition, unfair to every single person who is still stuck in the slow lane of education. Think about it. How many hours have you wasted rereading the same page, highlighting every single line, cramming until your head hurts, only to forget it all the next day? That's not your fault. That's the programming you've been trapped in. They want you dependent, because if you could learn in a fraction of the time, you wouldn't need their endless courses, overpriced tutors, or so-called exam hacks. You'd be free, and freedom in the world of education is dangerous. Now imagine for a second, just imagine being able to pick up a textbook, tear through it in hours instead of weeks, and actually retain the information so well that it feels like second nature. Imagine walking into your exam hall with this quiet confidence, this unfair advantage, because you know you've absorbed 10 times more knowledge than the person sitting next to you. Do you see how powerful that is? Do you see why I called it illegal? Not because it's truly against the law, but because if everyone knew this trick, the entire multi-billion-dollar education industry would collapse overnight. The truth is, only a tiny percentage of people will ever use this. Most students will ignore it because they're addicted to struggling, addicted to the comfort of being average, addicted to the same broken methods they've been spoon-fed since childhood. But you're different. You're still here, listening, because deep down, you already know that your potential is being throttled. You've felt it, that burning frustration, that voice in your head screaming, "I'm smarter than this. I just need the right way to unlock it." And here's the dangerous part. Once I reveal this trick to you, there's no going back. You won't be able to look at studying the same way again. You won't be able to sit and waste hours highlighting meaningless lines or rereading chapters like a zombie. Because once you taste speed, once you feel how fast your brain can actually process and lock in knowledge, everything else will feel like a scam. So, buckle up. What I'm about to show you is not just another study tip. It's not some recycled garbage about the 80-20 rule or spaced repetition. No, this is something deeper, something so powerful that it feels almost unfair to share it openly. And once you understand it, you'll never again be the same student you were yesterday. Part 1. The Lie of Active Studying. Approximately 3 minutes. Let's destroy the first myth right now. Active studying is enough. You've heard teachers tell you, take notes, make mind maps, summarize chapters, practice questions. Sounds productive, right? But here's the ugly truth. Most of this is nothing but glorified busy work. It tricks you into feeling like you're learning, but deep down, you're only scratching the surface. Why? Because your brain doesn't care about the number of hours you sit with your book. It only cares about the intensity of focus and the methods of encoding information. Most students confuse motion with progress. They'll sit with a notebook for 6 hours, highlighting words, doodling diagrams, rewriting paragraphs. And at the end of the day, their mind feels tired, but their memory? Empty. This is where the system has brainwashed you. They want you to think effort equals intelligence. But real intelligence comes from leverage, doing in 1 hour what takes others 10. And the illegal trick is about breaking free from passive effort and diving into what feels almost like cheating your brain. Instead of spreading your energy across 10 tasks, you use a method that laser targets memory encoding, making recall automatic, effortless, and unfairly fast. Part 2. The core of the trick. Mental compression. Here's the heart of it. The illegal study trick revolves around one principle: mental compression. Think about your phone or laptop. When you compress a file, you don't lose the content. You just shrink it into a smaller, tighter form that's easier to store and send. Your brain works the same way. Most people feed their brain raw, bloated data, word-for-word textbook definitions, long explanations, repetitive notes. That's like trying to store a 10-gigabyte movie on a 1-gigabyte pen drive. It just won't fit. But when you compress the information into sharp, trigger-based chunks, your brain can hold 10 times more without overload. How do you compress? You reduce every concept into its most powerful cue. One word, one phrase, one mental image that unlocks the entire chapter when recalled. This is why geniuses seem to know everything. They don't memorize the entire book. They memorize the compression keys. One trigger explodes into a full memory sequence. And here's the kicker. Once you train yourself to do this, studying stops feeling like studying. It feels like collecting shortcuts. Every page you touch shrinks into a key. And the moment you need it, in exams, in debates, in real life, you just unlock the compressed package instantly. This is why people will hate you for knowing this. Because while they are struggling to push pages into their head line by line, you'll be walking around with an entire library, compressed into mental files you can open at will. Part 3. The forbidden technique, forced recall loops. Now let's go deeper into how this compression works in practice. The secret method is something I call forced recall loops. And if schools actually encouraged this, they'd lose all control over the pace of education. Here's how it works. Instead of rereading or rewriting like a zombie, you expose yourself to the material once, just once, then immediately force yourself to recall it without looking. It feels brutal. It feels uncomfortable. Your brain resists. But this pain is exactly where the learning happens. Every time you drag information out of your memory instead of shoving it in, your brain strengthens the neural wiring. Think of it like lifting weights. Reading is like watching someone else exercise. It feels safe, but you don't grow stronger. Recall is lifting the weight yourself. It hurts, but the growth is undeniable. Now, here's the unfair twist. You don't just do this once. You loop it. You compress, recall, compress, recall, forcing your brain to work like a machine gun, firing memory pathways until they harden. And within hours, you'll realize you no longer need to study the same material again. It's locked, permanently. The system hates this because it kills dependency. They can't sell you tutoring packages when you can self-master. They can't stretch lessons over months when you can master chapters in days. That's why I call this illegal. It threatens the very business of education. Part 4. The dark side, why most students will fail to use it. Now, let's face the dark reality. Even after hearing this, 9 out of 10 students will never use this trick. Why? Because it's too simple. They'll tell themselves, it can't be this easy. It can't be this powerful. And they'll crawl back to their outdated, slow, broken methods, highlighting, rereading, wasting endless nights. The trick isn't hard. The trick is discipline. Your brain hates effort in the short term, so it lies to you. Just read it again. Just highlight one more line. It wants comfort, not growth. And that's why most people stay average. Not because they lack brains, but because they lack the guts to force themselves into recall, to compress aggressively, to fight through the initial discomfort. But you have a choice. Right now, you can either walk away, nod your head, and say, "That sounds interesting," and continue being average, or you can burn the old methods, commit to mental compression and recall loops, and become the one student in 100 who learns so fast that it feels illegal. So when I say this trick makes you learn 10 times faster, I'm not exaggerating. I'm telling you the reality the system hides. Learning speed isn't about IQ, it's about method. And now, you've been given the illegal method. The only question is, will you actually use it? Now here's the funny part. I've just handed you a trick that schools, coaching centers, and even so-called study gurus would never want you to know. And I already know what's going to happen in the comments. Half of you are going to scream, "This is genius! I'm going to try this tonight," while the other half will grumble, "There's no way it's this simple. You're exaggerating." And that's exactly the point. The people who test it, even once, are going to experience results that feel almost unfair. And the people who doubt it, they'll stay exactly where they are, struggling, highlighting, rereading, and wondering why nothing sticks. So tell me honestly, are you the type who's brave enough to try this illegal trick and break free from the system? Or are you the type who prefers the comfort of slow, safe failure? Drop your answer below. I'm genuinely curious to see who's going to take action and who's going to stay stuck. And remember, once you taste speed, there's no going back.